Welcome to Hot Topics. We are talking about brand building in 2025, how to really create an empire that humans and AI actually care about. So welcome. This is number 4 in our 2025 Entrepreneur Survival Guide. I'm Faye.
I'm Stacy. Thanks for joining us. And yes, this is the grand finale of this 4-episode series. So if you have not, if you're joining us for the first time now, go back, get caught up, and then come back.
Yeah. So over the last few episodes, we've talked about AI domination. We've talked about hyping trends, and we've talked about remote work. But now we're tying it all together. We're talking about brand building, because if nobody knows who you are and or cares what you do, then what's the point of why you even listen to us?
Exactly. So in a world where even AI is out there building personal brands, seriously, some of these bots have a better social media presence than I do.
It's true.
It's ridiculous. But you have to stand out, right?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about maybe 10 actionable steps, because we like the number 10, to create really a brand that resonates with both humans and maybe with the algorithms.
So, all right, let's go. Let's level up your branding game. Okay. Let's roll.
So why does branding matter, right? What's different in 2025 than, I was going to say 2015, but maybe we just say 2024.
One word: authenticity. That's as simple as it gets. People can smell corporate fluff a mile away. And if your brand isn't genuine, then they just scroll right past you, right? Like they're looking on their phones and they want to see a real person doing the thing.
Right. You don't want to be mistaken for an implant, a neural implant, right? You want to, in all seriousness, make as much noise as you can out there and cut through everything so people can find your brand, a brand that feels real, that feels relatable, that feels consistent, one that actually makes sense. Again, you can spot a fake a mile away.
And consistency, right? Be consistent. So basically, let's just say on Monday, you did Save the Dolphins. And then on Tuesday, you did dolphin-free t-shirts. You can't really do that, right? You're going to lose your audience so faster than they can say #cancel.
Yeah, you have to really understand, and we've been knocked on it by our marketing girl.
Yep.
You have to make an emotional connection with people, right? You want to make sure that they gravitate towards your brand with, your clear mission, with interesting stories. That's what we try to do. What we tell you each and every week is what we truly believe. What steps we have, the tools we use. We want to share those authentically.
Absolutely. Did you catch that? AI-driven recommendation engines, because guess what? Your brand also has to please the algorithm gods in 2025. That is what works. And if you're not relevant, your content won't be shown. No. It's really that simple.
Yeah, we need to move on to some real practical steps now so you can understand what that looks like, because it's great to tell you all our theories, but unless you actually have those steps in place to build that brand, it's really hard to do that.
All right, so here's the 10 steps to build a 2025 brand proof. So buckle up, because we're hitting you with the ultimate branding checklist.
Right, and some of them you will recognize, but they might have just changed a little bit for 2025. So number 1 is really defining your core values, right? Don't slap innovation or integrity on your website. Try to find those values that actually align with your company's DNA, with your DNA. Don't just come up with hype words, because they don't work.
So think of it as your brand's moral compass, right? If you're constantly pivoting, now we've talked a lot about pivoting, but if you're constantly pivoting or you're constantly contradicting yourself, your audience is going to notice. And then guess what they're going to do? They're going to leave.
Yeah, you have to be consistent. And the best way to do it is to craft a story. Mm-hmm. Everyone loves a good origin story, right? Why did you start your business? What happened? What was the problem that you needed to fix? That's what people want to know. They don't want to know just hype words and pie in the sky theories. They want to know what the real deal was.
And people connect with the emotional journey, right? Just don't fabricate details. Don't make things up if they're not true. Nobody wants a scandal, but they do want to know where you started, and they want to get to know the person behind the brand.
Have you ever been to a speech and you know it's a fake story? Like you can tell that they didn't really, or they tried to find something that kind of in their history that sort of made sense with what they were talking about, but it really wasn't what they should have gone with. That can actually damage your brand,
Absolutely.
not actually help it. So along with that, number 3 is really consistent visual identities, right? So make sure that it's kind of uniform across all your platforms you use, whether it's logos or color schemes or typography, right? Because how many times have we seen logos change, right? You can have a variation. Absolutely. So if you look at Apple over the years, it has changed, which is fine, but we always know that at the end of the day, we see an Apple, we resonate with it. Don't completely change your logos and color schemes if people are used to identifying you with something, because then they won't be able to find you.
And you know what? We've talked a lot about different tools over the past few weeks, but the big one that can really help you is Canva.
Love Canva.
Right? It can help ensure the consistency of the look when you're posting on social media, your website, or wherever your brand is found sort of online. It can look polished and it'll look on brand, and people will recognize it across all of those different channels.
You know, it's interesting about Canva. We talked to somebody last week and they were saying how Canva might change their model and might start upcharging. It's worth it. So even if they raise the price, there's not one tool we can actually name that is overall better for somebody establishing their brand and their business. So take a look at it anyways. Number 4 is about leveraging AI. This is the one that's near and dear to my heart. AI is not the enemy here, guys. These tools can generate brand names, they can generate taglines, they can generate entire ad campaigns, right? If you don't know what to say, it can generate it for you. So go for it. Don't be afraid.
So again, things like ChatGPT, Gemini, all of those ones can really help you with brainstorming names. They can give you ones that are on trend. They can give you reasoning behind why they're recommending this particular name, which I really like, right? So they can come up with taglines and slogans and all of that kind of stuff. But just remember to keep that human touch for final approval. So look at it. Google it. Is there something that's similar in that name that maybe doesn't align or is the exact opposite of what you're saying? Take a look at all of those things as well. Because then, think about translation, think about different ways it can be worded, think about acronyms, think about all of those things. But definitely that idea generation and brainstorming with your AI, again, working with the AI can be a huge advantage.
And remember, AI is only good as the input. So if you're worried that it's going to take over everything and completely change what you've already established, it doesn't. You tell it what you want, so it won't just create something that you've never heard of or are not interested in. That's why it's really, really important to understand how to use AI in your own voice. So again, we have a masterclass in our hub, completely free. It'll get you started. Number 5 is social media presence, right? You choose platforms that matter to your niche, right? If you're B2B, you're going to look at LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn might be your home base. If you're targeting Gen Z, actually, you want to look at TikTok, right? Because they haven't moved on to the next big thing yet. But I'm sure maybe they have and they haven't told us about it because they like to hide those details. But you need to see what social media platform works for your brand. Just because you have access to all of them doesn't mean it works.
And keep it consistent. Back in the day, last year, there was a lot of, you had to talk this way on this platform and this way in this platform and this way in this platform. That's kind of all gone to the wayside now because you're still you. It's the way that you talk, that sort of, we used to call it brand voice. And that's still, in regards to that consistency, still very important. So again, you've got that handle over on, Twix, Twitter/X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever you're hanging out. Keep the same lingo because people will recognize that across the brands and go, oh, okay, that is still them, instead of a different way of speaking on the different platforms.
Yeah. And speaking of platforms, number 6 is influencer partnerships, right? Influencers can literally skyrocket your brand awareness. You've seen it all, but it can also hurt you if you don't pick the right influencers. And sometimes AI is the way to go, right? But whoever you choose, they have to align with your values. So if somebody says to you, this person has 1 million followers, go ahead and partner with them, and you just blindly do it, and then you realize they are talking about topics that go completely against what you stand for, what your core values are, it's not going to work. So be very careful with this one.
Because there's nothing worse than an influencer who does not care about your product. All they're doing is talking about it just for the free stuff. That is not good, and that is not going to help you, and it's not going to help your brand. So again, picking the right one, very, very important, and do your research.
The controversial one right now is SEO, right, and content marketing, because it sounds really old school. Everyone used to say, oh, you need to hire an SEO expert to optimize it, and it is really important. SEO still exists. The difference now is a lot of the software and programs already have it interlaced in, so you don't need somebody. However, it's equally as important. If you don't have anyone, you have to make sure you're optimizing your software for keywords and hashtags or whatever that platform is still looking for.
Because you still need a blog, right? There's still written words, and they're still being scoured through the internet. So tools like SEMrush can really help you with relevant keywords. Think about your written content. It's still king or queen, maybe the whole royal family. I don't know. But it's still very relevant to focus on those blogs, because it's, yes, video. We're talking a lot about video, and here we are. But that written word is still part of your content strategy.
We work really hard on our community building, right? A loyal community is literally worth more than 10,000 random followers. So whether it's a Facebook group, a Slack channel, Discord, or our hub, right? You want to make sure that there is somewhere for your followers, your clients to be able to come into, to be able to know that like-minded people are there.
But if they ask a question or they engage in some way, respond. Don't just leave them hanging, because the worst thing is to ask a question or make a comment and then crickets.
Right.
So make sure you're responding, make sure you're engaging with them. Create ideas within your community, in your online community. Polls, that kind of stuff can really engage your audience and bring them in. And it makes them feel part of what you're building. It makes them feel part of that brand story.
And going on to that, remember to give them a customer feedback loop, basically, because as you hear from them, you want to listen to them, and you want to add surveys or polls or anything that makes you understand what they love, what they hate, what they want more of, what they want less of, so that you can actually respond to them.
Listen, 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 and pay attention, but don't ignore that feedback. That is the worst thing you can do. It's kind of like ignoring a smoke alarm when your house is on fire, right? You wouldn't do that. Again, they want to be part of your journey. They want to be part of the conversation. And as soon as they start to give you that feedback and you listen, the more information they're going to be giving you. So if they say something and you ignore it, guess what? They're going to run for the hills. So,
and then the last one really is to measure, and refine it. Track your brand metrics, right? Share a voice, promoter scores, brand sentiments, whatever you can. Try to measure as much as you can, because if something's off, you have the ability to fix it fast, right? So unless you're actually measuring who's listening, who's watching, what you're doing in the marketplace, you don't really know if you're on the right track.
Because your brand is always evolving, right? Our brand has evolved over time. It's not just a one and done deal. You don't build a brand and you go, thanks, check, right? We see how fast things change. Your brand is basically like an evolving conversation with your audience, learning, going back and forth, adapting, changing, listening, engaging, and refining, all of that kind of stuff. So on top of measuring what's going on, getting that feedback, putting it all together, and making sure that your brand is evolving over time and not just staying back in 2024.
Yeah. So we should mention, because we always do, we should like to share some of our favorite tools so that you can implement some of these shiny new steps, right? So let's give them our top ones.
Love our tools, right? Because who doesn't love a good tool list? So let's go. Okay, so think about branding and design. We've already mentioned our big one, our favorite one, which is Canva. That can really help you create very fast designs. You can change it, have that brand kit where you're like, click, 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 all good. Any of the AI generated logos and brand kits. Looka is another one.
I love Looka. I've used it many times, and it's phenomenal. The nice thing about Looka is you can generate a logo before you have to pay for it. So if you don't like it, you don't have to continue with it. You can keep regenerating until you find the one you like, and then you can pay for it.
Which is amazing. So social listening is a big one. So again, mention Brand24. They're all both great ones to track your brand mentions. This is where it becomes very difficult to kind of follow all of the feeds and all of the social media. But when somebody says something about you, you want to pay attention, right? You want to be quick to do that response, say that comment, say thanks for, saying what you did, both good stuff and bad stuff, right? If somebody has a complaint, you also want to be able to respond to that really quickly for that damage control. So you do want to use some of these social listening tools so that you know immediately when someone's talking about you or your brand. Again, we've talked a lot about content and SEO, right? SEMrush is another one that's great for keyword research. But you can Google other ones as well to really find out what your competitors are using, because your brand visibility really depends on understanding what keywords are out there, what keywords are being searched for, and doing those SEO analysis so that you know what's going on in your industry in regards to SEO. And then put that with, ChatGPT based writing tools. Huge, right? And then of course, remember to add that human flair to it. Community platforms, Slack, Discord, LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups, whatever that case may be. Mastermind City Hub, create space where your audience can interact and share ideas. That is huge, right? I remember speaking at a podcast conference, and we talked about the sense of community, and we talked about the podcast and what do people want to do after they had been done listening. And I remember everybody raising their hand going, well, we need to build a community. We need to build a community. And I said, does anybody have one? And they're like, no. So you do need to figure out what works for your brand. Where do you want to hang out with people if they want to learn more about you, or if they're interested in what type of content that you're putting out and they want to continue that conversation. Patreon, Substack are really good ones if you want to monetize a community or long form content. And then we talked about feedback before, right? You want to ask your customers or your clients, your community members about your brand. So think about tools like SurveyMonkey or Typeform. Those are great for direct feedback. Even Google Forms. I love Google Forms, right? They're straightforward, they're easy to use, and they're easy for people to put information in there, and you can get responses right away.
All these tools, they really give your brand a personality, right? A personality that really resonates with people. It might help you with your visual appeal and making you pop, your content strategy. All of that is really, really important in 2025 to make that brand shine.
And remember, people want the human connection, right? They want to feel like they're getting to know the person behind the brand. So if you're using some of these tools, again, to either do that listening strategy for you, asking them questions, you can really pull all of that information together so that they feel like they're interacting with a human. Whether you're using AI or not, they still want that human connection.
So that's really it. That wraps up our whole series for the 2025 Entrepreneur Survival Guide. So a quick recap, if those of you who didn't watch the other episodes, but you can. Episode 1, we really covered AI and how not to be replaced by a smarter algorithm. Episode 2, we dove into hype trends, trying to figure out what's legit and what's a passing fad. Episode 3 is we taught you how to master remote work without ever meeting your team in person, which is kind of cool. And episode 4, today, we were talking about how really to build your brand that humans and AI actually will care about.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed our bad jokes. We apologize in advance, but we really hope that you found some helpful tips in the series.
Yeah, and if you found value in any of these episodes, don't keep it to yourself, please. Subscribe, leave a review, share with a friend or 100. And of course, join us in our hub for free, where you can get a lot of access to fabulous training.
So thanks for tuning in. We're Faye and Stacy signing off on the 2025 Entrepreneurial Survival Guide. Those 4 series that we've just gone through. Go forth and